together, that develops a sense of real identity. Although with 4,000 people, that's like a real challenge. But it's like a big village. It's like a town. Everyone comes to the Sunday program. Everyone does service. Everyone has specific projects that they're engaged in. And then the whole idea of actually living together, not living together, but living together just in a community, but living together means that people's lives are not just isolated nuclear families doing their own things and then bumping into each other at the temple, but they're actually sharing and helping with each other and resolve each other's issues throughout their life. And then giving facilities. For instance, if you don't give facilities to children, you can't. You just cut down the amount of attendance to minimum, which is too difficult to us here. Children stay, they come in the temple room, but little children can only be in the temple room for so long before they want to start running and making noise, and that's very natural for them, but it's unnatural for a temple. And then where to go, if there's no place to go after that, that's it. Parents have to leave, which means that they won't even come to start with, because they want to cause disturbance. So then that means anyone with parent children is sort of out of the scene. So I remember when I first designed the temple in Krishna Valley, and I showed it to a friend who's an architect. The first thing he asked me is, where's the place for the kids? And believe it or not, that's going to define your use of the temple. If you're just going to make it for brahmacharis, that's all you're going to have. So we have to actually provide facilities for the particular audiences that are involved. And then obviously, you don't just have a big room for children where they, run amok and kill each other. They then need, if they have, nice playthings, and better yet, if they're engaged and being trained and taught, and the parents feel very secure about that, then you build up a real sense of trust and place. They can actually really come here, and then we have organized programs during festival time, Sundays, etc. Anyway, it's part of this building that and getting there. It's something that the common devotees in common can actually determine and say what it is that they really want to do.
Sometimes I read an article by one devotee who was describing how when they were setting up gurukuls in the 1970s, the phenomenon was that any devotee that wasn't any good at preaching or collecting, or actually those devotees who they considered didn't have much use in the community, they would engage them in looking after the children, and the devotees who were good preachers and good Sankirtan devotees, they were kept in that field. And he was saying that actually sometimes you need to bring people away from the preaching, the outreach preaching, in order that they can help develop communities and look after people. So is it actually sometimes necessary that although we have devotees who are great at collecting and distributing books and preaching to the public, in order that we can actually develop the community more close to home, you need to bring devotees away from that service so that they can be engaged in looking after people? Is that a necessary sacrifice?
Well, if you're talking about in this context, I'm sure that we would say yes. We've talked about it from a practical point of view. I don't know if the real issue is taking any away from anything and putting it into somewhere, but just being very clear about what it is, where it is that you're going and defining that well. It doesn't start with taking good people from one place and moving them to another, but by having a well-defined structure and seeing what it is that you want to achieve, and then seeing whether you really need to do that or not, because you may not need to do it. And then if you really need to do it, then fine, then maybe you need to do it. But that really becomes a detail on the basis of your constitution.
Is it that each community has its own constitution according to how the members that are in it and how they develop? Or could you take a community that's developed 20 years ahead and say, well, this is what we've worked out, so now, without you having to go through all the hassle we did, you just take this constitution and just start from there?
No, I don't think you can do like that. For instance, there are 194 countries in the world, they all have different constitutions. There's no country that's got the same constitution. People are different, circumstances are different. You can certainly use different other guidelines to define where you want to go, or to see if there's things that you can benefit from, learn from. But ultimately, one needs to go through the exercise yourself, even if it ends up being very similar. So yeah, there has to be some kind of form. I would advise something like that.
I see that the responsibility for children in the community is ultimately with the parent, or is it with all the religions of the temple to be responsible for children in the community?
Just respond to that in a more general way. In other words, what is the temple? Why is the temple responsible for anything? It's responsible. It only has obligation to those who have a corresponding commitment. And it may have different obligations to different types of people according to their commitment. So if you have a brahmachari who's living in a temple, then the temple really has a full obligation to maintain that person because he's fully dependent on it. On the other hand, if you have a member of the public, what's our obligation to the member of the public? Are we fully obliged for the member of the public? No, our obligation is that they can come here as long as they're following the rules of conduct of the project and the property. And we may say that taking prasadam, taking darshan is part of their right. But over and beyond that, what happens in their life, we're not taking responsibility. We're not taking responsibility for their health. We're not taking responsibility for any other thing that we're doing for the brahmachari. So to the degree that someone is actually committed to that degree, and it's not the temple, we should say, let's talk about the community, and the temple is part of the community. The problem is that you have neither a legal definition of the community, neither does it have any other type of form or shape. The only shape it has is when you see a whole bunch of devotees together. When you talk about the temple, what are you talking about? It has a physical structure, it's a legal entity, it has finances, it does accounting, it exists. And so the community is a much less tenuous thing, therefore anyone can expect anything from it, and at the same time either contribute or not contribute. It then becomes a very confusing state of affairs. So, but even just getting away from the community, because you don't have, this community is not, the community is not taking responsibility for for anything. But I don't know, I'm just saying that, just stating that, is this community in writing taking responsibility for anyone? We think so, because it has no clear definition. It's not defined like that. And even if it's not defined by law as a charity or some type of foundation, but even if it's defined by some constitution or some rules or articles or memorandum, and then the members sign, and on the basis of that, then it has some structure, and they sign into something like that. So then it's children. Who's responsible for the children? So it depends. If it's the children of those devotees who are fully committed, now we'll just talk about, use the word temple, because that's what we're talking about. If we're fully committed to the temple, then the temple's responsible for the children of those parents, because it's responsible for parents. But if the parents are not fully committed, number one, if they're either, by fully committed, I mean that they're volunteers. Someone's an employee, it's a different thing. So if I'm working somewhere,